So these are the two major methods we saw: job order costing and process costing. So job order costing is of two types. It says here contract costing and batch costing. And contract, as I already explained, is where you make houses or special assignments, like every order is different from the one you had before. So you have to record it separately. Batch costing is when you have batches of products. For example, in medicine companies, every batch is different. Or some places, as per the raw material arriving, every batch is different. For example, some expensive products, let's say like coffee. Coffee would have batches as per where did the raw material arrive from. Because of the taste difference, they cannot create a generic similar taste every time if there is a change in condition. So coffee taste changes and the company has to label the batch differently every time they get a new batch of coffee. So those are the companies. But to look at their cost statement, they are simple. Might have a minor difference. Let me get a big statement for job order costing. Okay, I'll get the smaller one first and then we'll look at the big one. Okay, this is example now. As you can see, a job cost sheet is same as any other cost sheet we have, but it's just that there are multiple items in the sheet. Okay, so the job cost sheet for this company has department X, Y, and Z. There is materials for department X, Y, and Z. There are wages for department X, Y, and Z, and there are overheads for all three departments. So all you have to do while preparation of the job sheet is you'll have to create separate heads for all three of them. And that will just create a very large cost statement, but same as we have before. There will be no difference to the structure of the statement. It's just that structure here. So the structure will remain the same as this one is. You will just have the raw material inventory here in multiple steps, or you will put here X, Y, and Z, three products differently, and create three columns for cost. Okay, so rather than a small problem, I was looking for a big one to solve once. Okay, let's do this one. So we'll do this one then. There is not much detail here, only a few items given. That is, the company has departments X, Y, and Z. Materials issued to job. So material purchase is not given here. It is just the material, total material they consumed during the process. Material issued was 8,000. Direct labor hours for the job. So how many hours of labor was used in that job? And then there is sale of scrap materials arising from the job. Sale of scrap material is something that does not concern us. So it is not part of our cost. It's actually an income, not even a cost. But it will come in the income statement, not in the cost statement. So then we have the total overheads for the department and the total labor hours for the department. Okay, so we'll create a cost statement that will be much smaller than what we had before, but that's how job order costing is solved. So for example, 8 we're doing now. We'll just write the title job order cost statement. We do not have the company name here or anything else. We just have departments X, Y, and Z. So we'll write particulars for X, for Y, and for Z. Okay, 3 departments here. So as per our structure, we start with raw material inventory, start of the period, then purchases, and then end of the period, giving us the direct material that was used. In this case, we just have the direct material issued. So apparently the company has a different purchase department. This is how happens in there. In the company, they have a different purchase department and a different consumption department, or where the production happens. And the purchase department only issues the material to X, Y, and Z department. So you as a cost accountant for X, Y, Z department have nothing to do with how much material was purchased and how much was still remaining after the process was completed, according to this job sheet. So what will happen is you will provide the job sheet to your supervisor, and then they will attach the purchase and sales statement to that to create the income statement and the detailed cost statement. So apparently the department managers will create a short one that is from this information, and the managers then will create the bigger one with detailed information. They can give us the detailed information too. I will look for more examples that have it. Okay, so direct material. We do not have any start of the year, we do not have any end of the year, and we do not have any purchases. So we directly have direct material here. So material issued for the job is our direct material. So since we have nothing else, we'll just write uh, A, direct material. For the 3 jobs, it is 8,000, 1,000, and 500. So 8,000 accounting numbers. 1,500. That's all we have about direct material. Then we have direct labor hours. Direct labor hours for the job is 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. Now remember, these are hours. These are not, sorry. Yeah, these are not the dollars that we paid. Okay, so these are hours of labor spent on the job. The money paid would be how much is the direct labor per hour for this job. Okay, so to find out the direct labor for department X, you will need material issued, direct labor for job X, that is 1,000 hours, and the rate of labor is $1 per hour. So it will become $1,000. Okay, so for department X, that will be point B, direct labor, that is labor hours times labor rate per hour. So for department X, labor hours are 1000 and the rate of labor, direct labor per hour is $1. So you spent $1000, right? $1 for 1000 hours. For department Y, it is 2000 hours for $1.5 hours per hour, $1.5 per hour. So that will be $3000 for department Y, 3000, and for department Z, 5000 hours for by $2 per hour. That is $10,000. There we have direct labor. Now all we need is the materials. Then it says sale of scrap arising from the job is given here 1000, 150, 100. Sale of scrap is an income for the company, so it does not have anything to do with our structure. If we look at our structure, next item is manufacturing overheads. Okay, so there is no sale of scrap related to these materials. And we also don't know the total sale for these departments, but we have the total overhead for the departments. So we have here total overheads for the department. Now, but we do not have the manufacturing overhead. So we can derive the manufacturing overhead. You will take the total manufacturing costs, that is the total overheads for the department, $10,000, and then derive the manufacturing overhead. So next item is manufacturing overheads. Which is not given. Okay, but total manufacturing cost, that is given, which is A plus B plus C. Yeah. A plus B plus C. So we have this D here. We have total overhead for the department, 10,000 for X, 15,000 for Y, and 25,000 for Z. 10,000, 15,000, and 25,000. Now you can just derive the manufacturing overheads. So for department X, total manufacturing cost is 10,000 and direct labor plus material is 9,000. So manufacturing overheads should be 1,000. Right, so we are doing this here as D, D minus A minus B. D minus A minus B. Okay, so we have, this was actually given, so let's not write the formula here. Right. Then Y will be 1,000 minus 4,000. Sorry, 15,000 minus the 4,000. 50,000 will be 11,000 is manufacturing overhead. And for department Z, 25,000 minus 10,500. 25,000 minus 10,500 is 14,500.
14,500.
Right. So that is our manufacturing overhead. Okay, so simple, small, but crooked as it is. Like there is no straight path as we are solving the cost statement. This is a bit crooked to solve it. Right, so let's do next one now. Department overhead costs, that's the answer. Okay, so next let's do this one. Again, a bit weird compared to the first one. The material shown here is in kilograms and you have the rate per kilogram. So you just have to multiply the two and you will get the direct material. For example, for department X, direct material would be 5,400 kgs divided by 10 per kg. That would be 54,000. $54,000 for department X. Department Y will be 600 times 8, that is 4,800. Okay, department Z will be 500 times 20, so $10,000. So yeah, take 5 minutes to solve it, then we'll do it. Hmm. Okay, so for this example, we delete all. So again, department X, Y, and Z. And we have first our direct material. Point A is direct material. Which is 5,400 times $10 per kg. I have to put the question too. Let's put it here. Right, so we have our direct material for X, 5,400 times 10, that is 54,000. For Y, 600 times 8, that is 4,800. For C, 500 times 20, that is 10,000. We can write here quantity multiplied by price per kg. Next item would be direct labor. Direct labor here again is given by the rate. That is how many hours of labor was spent and what is the rate per hour for labor. So that is for X, 1,000 hours for $2 per hour. That is $2,000. Labor hours multiplied by rate per hour. Then we have 200 times 2.5 is 500. 1,000 times 1.5 is 1,500. Then there are factory overheads. Factory overheads. Factory overhead department X and Y. For both department X and Y, it is 150% on direct wages at $10 per labor hour. 150% on direct wages at $10 per labor hour. Per labor hour. Okay, per labor hour is given. So 150% on direct wages per labor hour here would mean that 150% on the labor hours. So 150% of the hours in direct labor that you have, for example, let's say for department X, it is 1,000 hours at $2 per hour. Okay, so 1000 hours at $2 per hour. 1000%, sorry, 150% on direct wages would mean it would be 150, 1500 hours, because 1500 hours is 150% uh, of Department X in direct wages, and that will be at the rate of 10 per labor hour. So we will have 50 at the rate of $10 per hour. Okay, it's better if we, yeah, I'll write the formula here. Or should it be below the item? I'll write it here. Factory overheads for Department X. That will be 1000 hours times 150%, right? That, and that will be at the rate of 10 per labor hour. Hour, or hour, as you like to pronounce. The Department Y will have the same thing, 200 hours times 150% at the rate of 10 per labor hour. Then for Z, Department Z says that 66 and 2/3% on direct wages. 66 and 2/3% on direct wages. That means 2/3 of the direct wages. 66 and 2/3 is what, 66.67%. So that is 2/3 of direct wages for Department Z. $66.67 on direct wages. So factory overhead would be 1000 hours times 150% is 1500 hours at 10 per labor hour. So 1500 times 10 would be 15,000. 200 at 150% becomes 300. 150% of 200. So 300 multiplied by 10 per hour. Yes, so that will be 3000. And this one says 66.67% on direct wages. So it will become the 66.67% of 1500, which is 1000. Okay, if you want to calculate, we can do it. It will be 1500 multiplied by 66.67%. So 1000. Okay, we got that. Now we have our total manufacturing cost, at least, because we don't have the other items. So total manufacturing cost for X is 71,000. For Y is 8,300. For Z is 12,500. Okay, so that's the solution. Now, if you look in the book or if you look for problems outside, they are way more complicated. We are not going to go for that level of complication at this level of the course. Okay, so these problems can be a lot more complicated. As I have downloaded some here, I can see. But this kind of job statement should be okay. So just solving for what is our direct labor, manufacturing cost. So another one. Just search for a problem. Marginal costing. Okay, so question about Department Z. Okay, it says here the factory overhead for Department Z. Factory overhead is on the question here. And factory overhead, it says, is 66.23% on direct wages. 66 and a 2/3% on the direct wages. So we have direct wages here, 1,000, and 66.23%. If you want to solve, we can solve it that way too. Like you take 66.23 of the hours. So in this case, the hours will be then 1,000 hours times 66.23% on that will be 666.67 hours. Okay, at the rate of 1.5. It will give you the same answer, 1,000. So since they have not given us the labor rate here for department X and Y, they have given us the labor rate at $10 per hour. For department Z, they have not given anything. So we just take the divided over here. So 1,000 times the 66.67% will be, yeah, 666 per hours at 1.5. More problems. So you guys can take a break at this time. We'll come back at 10 and do more problems after that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. After going through three processes. Okay, so this is a process costing kind of problem. So it goes to three processes to produce 500 units of sugar. Product sugar. And the total costs incurred on that are raw material, labor cost, production overheads. Gives you a total cost of 25,000. Then the cost per unit of sugar comes out to be 25,000 divided by 500. So what you have to do here now is, just like we did job order costing or batch costing, like department X, Y, and Z. They have given you the departments over here. That is these three departments. So 1, 2, and 3. And they have divided the expenses among them. So actually, let's not divide the expenses. Let's I'll write them in percentage. You guys can calculate it for yourself. How much would that be? Okay, so this is how the question can appear. That or the factory, and it goes to through three processes to finish the production of sugar. The three processes are extraction of juice from sugarcane, clarification and evaporation of the juice, then crystallization and centrifugation of the juice. So to produce sugar as the final product. Now all these expenses add up to be 100%. Like 50% of the raw material cost, raw material is spent on the first process, then 33% is spent on the second process, and 17% is spent on the third process. So you can easily determine, or whatever the amounts were here, you can determine them. For example, raw material, right? Raw material here, it says it's 7,500 total. Okay, total costs are given in the above table. Raw material is 7,500 to in total, and it says here for this process, raw material is 50%. So out of the 7,500, 50% raw material is used in your first process, that is extraction of juice for sugarcane. So when you're creating the cost sheet, you will create like process 1, process 2, and process 3 as per the names here, and then assign the raw material costs, labor costs, and other overhead costs to it. So just like we have our cost sheet here, this one. So prepare a similar one for this company also, but just that you have to calculate the amount for everything now. Okay, instead of given small practices, you have to calculate. So just like that cost sheet, the names will change. Instead of process X, you will have the extraction of juice from sugarcane process. Instead of process Y, you will have this name there, and process Z will replaced by this name. Then the material you can calculate. What is the material for the first process? It is 50%. 50% raw material. 50% of what? The total raw material. The total raw material given here is 7,500. So out of the 7,500, 50% will be here. You will write it over there. Then same you will do for the second and third process, 33% of 7,500, and then 17% of 7,500. Then so you do that, and then we will do the per unit cost also. Since there are 500 units here given, that it goes to three processes to produce 500 units. So then we will calculate also the per unit cost for our product. So take 10 minutes. Let's see if in 10 minutes should be enough. Try to find out what the costs of different items here are as per your cost sheet, and what is the per unit amount for everything, or the per unit cost of everything. Raw material, labor, sorry, direct labor, direct material, manufacturing overheads, and total manufacturing cost. And in 10 or let's say 15 minutes, we'll start solving. Okay, I'll start solving it then. So for this problem, we have three processes as told here. First is called extraction of juice from sugar. So it doesn't matter the name. Whatever the name is, that is our process. Uh, Second is called clarification and evaporation of juice. And third is called crystallization and centrifugation. We have point A, direct material, direct. We can also write total here. Not total cost. Product. We can just write product here. As for what our product is. The cost for the cost statement for every process. And then we should also make a unit wise statement. What is the per unit cost? So if somebody was making a unit statement separately, that is also okay. Or you can just make a column for unit right next to the product. Or that is all. Okay, or these things can be below here. So it can be amount unit per unit for all of them. You can make like this. If you have made a separate table about it, that's also okay. Okay, so we have our processes this way then. So we look at our question. It says that raw material over here is total 7,500. So that is for the product. We can write that here, 7,500. Consistent here. There are 500 units. The company produced 500 units. So this will be 500 throughout the problem then. So if this was 500 unit, then what is the cost per unit then? 7,500 divided by 500. So you can have this divided by 500 will give you the per unit cost. That is 15 for this one. Okay, 15. So the product is given to us in the question. It says here that 7,500 is your total product raw material cost. For the processes, we are given a percentage. Now the percentage says that extraction of juice from sugarcane, that process takes 50% of your raw material. So the first process, this one takes 50%. So 50% in Excel, you can do it like this, or you can calculate what is 50% of 7,500. So I'll just multiply this by 0.5. So that is 3,750 for first process. So what will be the per unit cost here then? That will also be 50% of this. So should be 7.5 for 500 units. Let's write here for your reference. So 500 units here. It is just showing me 8. Not. Let's keep it to 2 decimals. So 2 decimals shows us 7.5 is the per unit cost for process 1. Then about process 2, it says process 2 raw material is 33%. 33%. So this will be 33% of total product. So multiplied by 0.333 or 0.33 because it is 33%. So I do it like this. You can do it any other way you want. Or 7,500 divided by 100 times 33, same answer. Okay, so then we will have per unit cost also will be this divided by 500. That gives us 4.95. Okay, so per unit cost will always be the amount divided by 500. Then we have the crystallization here. Let's also make this. Then the third process here says 17% of the cost. So process 3 is 17%. So 17% of this. 1,275. 500 will give us per unit cost. Okay, so that is for direct material. We calculated the cost for all 3 processes. So these 3 should add up to be 7,500 when you add them. So on Excel, we can look at the total here. It is 7,500, which should be the product because that is 100%. And all the per unit cost also should add up to 15 because that is also total is 15 there. Then we move to our second step of cost sheet, that is direct labor. Then for direct labor, we have labor cost for process A is, the process number 1 is 25%. Or first we'll need the total labor cost. So the total labor cost for the product is 8,750. So for the process, for the product, labor cost is 8,750. So for 500 units, it will be this divided by 500 or 17.5 total labor cost. Okay, 17.5. So then we have by process. Labor cost 25% for first process. So first process will be 25%. So is equal to 25% of this. 2,187. $2,187.5. Per unit will be 2,187.5 divided by 500. 4.38. 4.38. Then for the second process, labor cost is 43%. So we'll have here 43% of our product cost multiplied by 0.43. 3,762.5 is equal to this divided by 500. 7.53. Then we go to the third stage of our process. It is 32% of total cost. So 30, so total product cost times 0.32. 2,800. $2,800, and per unit will be 2,800 divided by 500. 5.60. So we move to manufacturing overheads now. Manufacturing overheads. Total, it says here production overhead, but that's the same thing. So total manufacturing overhead is 8,750. Total again here is 8,750. So per unit will be same. This divided by 500, 17.5. And we have the same percentages again. So for manufacturing overheads, it is the same percentage and same amount. So everything will be same here. Right, as it was for the above process, everything will be same for. So then we can calculate total manufacturing cost for every process. So there can be a total manufacturing cost for the first, second, third process separately and the product. For the product, we are already given the answer. So the total manufacturing cost is 25,000. Is it the same if we add these three? Yes, if you add these three, the cost is 25,000. And add these three, that will be the total per unit cost, which is 50. Or you can do it this divided by 500. Should be same 50. Then per process, we can add them up. So for process number one, it is 8,125. 8,125. And the part by part cost is 16.25. So by every part, sorry, you 5. Then we add second process, that is 10,000. All three added together are 10,000. Per unit cost should add up to be 20, or 10,000 divided by 500. 20. Process 3, costs add up to 6,875. 6,875. And the per unit cost adds up to be 13.75. So that's the cost, and these should add up to be 25,000. The process cost for process first, second, and third, the total cost should add up to be 25,000, as it does here. And the per unit cost should also add up to be 50, as it does here. Here, so we can modify that one into any number of ways we want to create a new example. Because there is not much available online, I'll give you the examples on screen. So let's change the process. So let's say the company now produces cloth. Cloth is obtained through three processes, and the company produces 275 units of cloth. So the question can also say, instead of units, like bales, 275 bales of product cloth. So that is your unit. We have a direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overheads. So we will change all of these. Let's take different amounts. 80,000. Material consumed 80,000. Direct labor 130,000. Manufacturing overheads 65,000. Let's say the processes are called, I don't know what the process called. They first create a thread, then there is the knitting of the thread together, and finally there is stitching of the cloth. So let's say that's how you make clothes. Okay, so this company manufactures cloth, and now let's distribute the raw materials. 80% of the raw material goes in process 1, 12.5% in process 3. Direct labor, 28% goes into process 1, 58% in process 2, let's reduce this. 15% goes here, 58% over here. Let's reduce this to 39%. So 46% goes here. Then we have our manufacturing overheads. 25% here, 35% here, and 40% here. So we created 275 bales of cloth. What is the total cost here? 130 plus 80, 210, 275. 275,000. Ironic. So 275,000 divided by what? 275. So total per unit cost would be 1,000. Must add up to the same thing once you solve the problem. Okay, so try solving this one then. Just as we solved the last one, same thing. Everything is the same, just numbers are different. So you have solved the first one. Do you want to look at that again? If somebody has not done it yet, this was it, right? So everybody has that. Now do this. Solving it then. Just copy this part. And the name of the process is made up names. Okay. Now looking at the process, direct material is our first item. Direct material amount is, for the whole product, it is 80,000. So for the product, 80,000. So direct material 80,000, and that will be divided by our units, that is 275. This divided by 275. We'll have to change this. Number of units here is 275 units. Okay. So how is direct material distributed? 80% goes to the first process. 80% of our direct material goes to threading. So we take the product multiplied by 0.80 or 80% gives us 64,000. Per unit would be 64,000 divided by 275. Gives us 232.73. Second process, the process of knitting, that consumes 12.5% of our material. Knitting process, 12.5. So that would be 80,000 times 0.125. 10,000. So it is 10,000 divided by 275 for per unit, 36.36. Then there is the stitching process. Stitching process in our question takes 7.5% of material. So we'll have stitching at 7.5, 0.075. In Excel, if you have confusion, you can write here 7.5%. It can just write percentage. It will take that as a percentage. So convert it. Okay, so either write 7.5% or 0.075. 6,000. Then those 6,000 divides to 20 Yes, them add up to be 290.91. Amounts add up to be 80,000. Next item on the cost sheet is direct labor. Direct labor is totally 130,000. So for the product, we have 130,000. 130,000 for direct labor. Per unit would be 130,000 divided by 275. 130,000 divided by 275, that is 472.73. Then we go process by process. So threading process takes 15% of our direct labor. So 15%, 130,000 multiplied by 0.15, 19,500. Per unit will be 19,500 divided by 275. 70.91. For the knitting process, that takes 39% of our total direct labor. 39% is equal to the amount multiplied by 0.39. 50,700 direct labor cost to knitting. Per unit will be 50,700 divided by 275. 184.36. Now for stitching, labor cost consumes 46%. So 46% of 130,000 times
59,800.
59,800, right? So per unit will be 59,800 divided by 275.
To 17.45.
217.45, right? Okay, next we have manufacturing overheads. So manufacturing overheads, are in all 65,000. So for the product, manufacturing overhead is 65,000. Per unit, that will be 65,000 divided by 275. 236.36. So by the process, percentages are given here. For threading process, manufacturing overhead is 25%. So we will have 25% of 65,000. Sorry, times H10 multiplied by 0.25. 16,250 divided by 275 will be per unit cost.
59.09.
59.09, correct. Then for knitting process, we have 35% of that cost. Equal to 65,000 times 39%. So 35%, 0.35.
22,750.
Yes. And per unit will be 22,750 divided by 275.
82.73.
82.73. Yes. After that, we have for stitching process. That takes 40% of our cost. 40% of
26,000.
26,000, and per unit that will be divided by 275.
94.55.
So 94.55. So one thing that is also I've noted in other class also, when you are saying decimals, you always say the unit after decimal. After decimal, there is no tens or hundreds or thousands. Okay, so when you say like 94.55, that is correct. 94 after a decimal, there cannot be a 55. 55 is a number in itself. After decimal, there are only units. So whenever you are like speaking those numbers, you go beyond the decimal point, you just say the units. You never say the whole number. Okay, so this will be like 94.55, 82.73, 59.09. Because if you say 59.9, that is a different number then, right? So you cannot say 59.9. So similarly, you cannot say 82.73. It is not 73, it's 73. Right? Because 59.9 would be the wrong answer. 59.09 is the correct answer. That is why we pronounce units after decimals. Okay, so just something, some people pay attention to that, some people don't. My teachers used to beat us if we give the wrong answers, so we are conditioned to that now. Total manufacturing costs. So these are just small things that like whenever you're giving an interview or whenever you're like talking in accounting, some people will pay attention to those things. Some people, they don't care. Answers are answers. Okay, so now total manufacturing costs. For the product, we already have it. That is 275,000. 275,000 is the total manufacturing cost for the product. Per unit cost for the product will add up to 1,000. and it should. So 1000 cost per unit. Now we get to per unit. Different processes. So for the process of threading, the process of threading takes total manufacturing cost of 99,750. 99,750 per unit. That will be 99,750 divided by 275.
272.
So that's 362.73. Now we go to the process of knitting. Knitting adds up to be 83,450. So what is per unit? 83,450 divided by 275. That's one way to know it. 303.45. Right, and do they add up? Yeah, they add up to be the same. Process of stitching. $800. Total is 333.82. Does it add up to be the same? 91,800 divided by 275. 333.82. Okay, so the same both ways. So that's a example of process cost statement. Bigger than job cost statement, right? Job cost statement just have like three processes, or job cost statement would have three jobs that would add together to be the total manufacturing of the company. Job cost statements can also be expanded. There can be like the opening cost and closing cost for every job cost statement, like the opening raw material, closing raw material, WIPs, finished goods for every job statement too. And there can be different manufacturing overheads. So we can make the much larger cost statement as we did for our problems before, these kind of statement. When you're working actual, or if you're working in the cost department of a company, you will have these kind of statements. And what is worst will be, you will have these kind of statement for every process. So you will have one for X, then you will have same one for Y, one for Z, one for A can be, and one for B. So they can be multiple statements. So in a company or manufacturing plant, that is generally used, but again, it adds up to different kind of products that the company has. So becomes much larger. We are solving the same thing here on a smaller scale. Okay. The example they've given here is like this for contracts or for like job costing. So there is a job A and job B. They add up to be the total income and expenses for the company, like this one. So I'll just wrap up by doing your attendance now. I have to paste the question there. So this is our question. cost sheet. Sheet is special JPEG. Now you have it. Upload that on Brightspace here. Classwork. Okay. So up till now, anybody has any doubts about cost accounting? Seems pretty simple. We are keeping it at the simple level. So once we are thorough with this, we will move to the next stage, that is analysis of cost. Actually, that will be from the next lecture, because we don't have many more problems on this. So since this is the simple part, understanding the cost statement, I think this much practice would be enough, and we can move to so CVP analysis, marginal costing, and budget and variance. Those things can be started. So Rayline is not present for this class, right? I believe as she already done her management accounting, because I haven't seen her this week. Anybody know her? Rayline Guzman? No. Okay. Judith, I believe you missed your first lecture, management accounting, the very first one we had. Were you there for class?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I didn't see you that day, like on the attendance list here. I didn't see Judith. Okay. Must have been lost connection.
What day, sir?
On last Monday.
Oh, my connection was bad, sir.
Okay. Right, so this is our next unit. It's called marginal costing and CVP analysis. Pretty simple. If you understand the first part, this should be pretty easy. So another structure that you just have to remember, and everything goes into that structure with the relevant formulas. relevant formulas for that structure. So again, the basic concept for CVP analysis are the same. We know what fixed costs are, we know what variable costs are. Fixed costs that remain constant at any output or any level of production that is going on, fixed costs will remain constant. Then we have variable costs that will vary with each unit of output. As your production increases, your variable cost will also change. Semi-variable is some costs that are initially constant and increase with rise in output. Okay, so some costs that are zero. If the production is zero, they will not be zero. But if the production rises, they will rise with that. Similarly with the total cost also. Sales and revenue, we know what sales and revenue are, receipt against total output. When you say, sell your output, when you sell your production, the money you get is the sales revenue. Total cost is this is the sum of fixed, variable and semi-variable costs. So every cost that you have adds up to become your total cost. Then profit is the difference between sales revenue and total cost. So these concepts we already know. Now, anyone have any confusion about these? Semi-variable cost, we don't see them anytime. Like so there are not many examples of that. But just for completion, we have to know there is something called semi-variable costs, even though in our problems, we never see them. Okay, so I think everyone knows these things. Marginal costing. Since we have already done economics, you guys know what marginal costing is, right? So when one unit of input increases, what is the change in output? Like in economics, we looked at the labor. When you increase the jacket making labor from 1 to 2, how much is the change in output? When you increase it from 2 to 3, how much is the change in output? That is the marginal cost. Same thing here. Marginal cost remains the same. So marginal cost is the cost of producing one additional unit of a product. Okay, absorption cost, I'll move it lower. Like this. So marginal cost is the cost of producing one more unit. How much will your cost increase? So marginal costing is different at every stage, as we know, because when you're starting production, your marginal cost is lower. As you go higher and higher into production, your marginal cost becomes higher and higher with that. So what is marginal costing related to marginal cost? So the ascertainment of marginal cost by differentiating between fixed cost and variable cost and the effect on profit due to change in volume and type of output. So similar to economics, we will study what is the change in output versus what is the change in your fixed and variable costs. That will help us determine or find out what the marginal cost for our product is. At a particular level, what the marginal cost is. Then we have absorption costing. It is determined after considering all costs in the manufacture of a product. Absorption cost, in simple words, it means how much cost did the product absorb, or how much money did it absorb. That is absorption costing. So now we have the equations for marginal costing, and then we will look at CVP analysis also. So what is the marginal cost equations? These are the things we will normally calculate in that. First is sales. Sales is variable cost plus fixed cost plus profit minus loss. Then what is contribution? Contribution means sales minus variable cost or marginal cost. Okay. So you have the sales as we have in any income statement. You have your sales. If you only deduct variable cost from that, what is left is contribution. Okay, normally we calculate profit, right? And we have our gross profit and operating profit. That is of sales on we put the cost or the cost different. We calculate margin. We start with, then we reduce the variable cost, and then we reduce the fixed cost from that to arrive at our profit. So different structure. So different structure, but leads to the same answer. That is our profit. So when in income statement, we go from, let's look at the structure here. So this is our income statement structure, right? Normally what we do, we have sales, we have cost of goods sold, and we have income from operations. So the only difference will be now that here we will have variable cost, and here we will have fixed cost. Gross margin will turn to contribution, and income from operation to profit. And we get rid of everything else. So this will be the income statement, the structure of statement for marginal costing. So we will have contribution first instead of gross profit, and contribution will be calculated sales minus variable cost. We can calculate contribution by adding fixed cost and profit. It will be the same thing. So like here, this is contribution, that is sales minus variable cost. We can also add these two, and they will lead to the same answer here. So that's the way we calculate our profit. Profit is fixed cost, contribution minus the fixed cost that we have, leads to the bottom level line, that is profit. So this gives us two other formulas here. Sales minus variable cost is equal to fixed cost plus profit. So this line, sales minus variable cost, is equal to fixed cost plus profit. Why is that? Because they are both equal to contribution. So contribution is equal to sales minus variable cost, and contribution is also equal to fixed cost plus profit. So two things. Contribution is equal to sales minus variable cost, and contribution is also equal to fixed cost plus profit. So we can write these two things should also be equal, that is sales minus variable cost So this is an example, a small example of how we solve things in this in marginal costing. For example, you are given in the question that from the following information, calculate the amount of profit using marginal cost technique. You are given the fixed cost. So let's change this to dollars. You're given the fixed cost, you're given the variable cost, you're given the selling price, and you're given number of units sold. So from that, we can calculate everything we need. We can have the sales. Sales will be 100,000 units multiplied by selling price per unit. That is 1 million. You see over here, 1 million sales minus variable cost. That gives us our contribution. Also, we have fixed cost over here, that is 300,000. Fixed cost is 300,000. And we have contribution from here, that is 500,000. So we can calculate the profit. So 500,000 is fixed cost, that is 300,000 plus profit. So profit becomes 500,000 minus 300,000 or 200,000 as shown in this case. So tomorrow we'll solve more problems on this. So just to let you know how they are solved, they must be like this. So a company will have products A, B, and C, and they will have all the things we know about. That is the three overheads: raw material, labor, and manufacturing overhead, and they will have a sales amount. So given these, we can calculate our cost statement, that is cost, all three costs add up to be variable cost, and the variable cost gives us the contribution, which leads to net profit from the sales. Net profit would be the same here. Okay, so we'll solve these tomorrow then, starting with the next section of our syllabus, that is CVP analysis. Okay, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye. See you.
Okay, bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye. Bye.
Sir?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's Miss Ara's signature that they're asking. Sorry, I thought at first I thought it was your signature. So I'll just send it to Miss Ara and then I'll send it back to the college and wait for the approval.
Okay, yeah, I think they might have allotted you, allocated you to her class, so they need her permission to move you. Yeah, they
Okay.
might not need my permission because you're moving to this class. Okay, then.
Mhm. Okay, for sure. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Have a good
Okay.
day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Thanks.
Hi, can I get an appointment today to change tires on the car? I'm available now, like anytime before you close, I can come there. Two o'clock, okay. It's a Nissan Rogue. How much do you charge for that? For the flipping? Oh, they're separate. So you'll have to balance. Oh, okay. Yeah, they are 16-inch tires. Okay. Okay, then I'll be there at 2 o'clock. Thanks.